Now, according to records held by the National Archives, in a letter to then former President Thomas Jefferson, dated December 25, 1810, John Lynch, who colonized lands he named after himself, called Lynchburg, Virginia, made a descriptive proposition to Thomas Jefferson that called for the, quote, colonization of the Negro people on the coast of Africa, so that a settlement can be established for immigrating the freed people of color out of North America and into Africa somewhere along the coast. Now, I'm going to get into the details of Thomas Jefferson's reply and what happened thereafter. But first, let me mention that Lynch's letter was sponsored, inspired, and remotely authored by a pale woman named Anne Mifflin. Anne Emlen Mifflin was a Quaker of the evangelical Christian faith. She is also a descendant of European parents of the Reckless family that immigrated from what is known now as Cumbria, England, to North America during the late 1670s, at a time where Englishmen of the many denominations of the Christian faith were attempting to immigrate with an eye to North America, but could only sign land and peace treaties with a few of the prominent indigenous elders, in which their tribes occupied the lands of West Jersey, Rhode Island, and Pennsylvania, where Anne Mifflin was born and raised nearly 85 years later on April 20th, 1755. According to Lynch's letter to Thomas Jefferson, Anne Mifflin was a Quaker preacher that traveled to Lynchburg for an annual religious visitation to Virginia, where Quaker ministers from other states would have a formal meeting. But this time around, Anne and her fellow Quakers met with, quote, a few noted characters of Virginia in order to promote her new plan that would not only quell the Negro population and revolt issues quickly, but permanently, or so she thought. During the month of September in the year of 1810, Anne spoke with former Virginia governor and slaveholder that just recently manumitted his indentured servants at that time, named James Wood, in which he highly approved the plan and even offered to help promote it by endorsement. Anne's plan was to target the freed Negroes of the southern states and immigrate them all to an island called Bolama on the coast of West Africa, in which the majority section of that land is now known today as Sierra Leone. But the only issue at that time that she noted was that it was currently being colonized by the British government. Also, Anne Mifflin immediately earned the support of Granville Sharp, an English abolitionist who campaigned throughout most of his adult life during the 1760s to end the Indian slave trade in both Europe and America. Sharp was also an influential founding member of the British-led Society for the Abolition of the Slave Trade, which was established in 1787, and the British Colonial Corporation called the Sierra Leone Company in 1792. With the previous attempt to settle the issue of the multiple rebellions continuously occurring all across America during his presidency, Thomas Jefferson received the letter from Lynch and eagerly responded a year later, on January 21st, 1811, by stating that this is, quote, the most desirable measure which could be adopted for gradually drawing off the Negro population. Stating more favorability opinions of the letter, he later added, "Nothing is more to be wished than that the United States should themselves undertake to make such an establishment on the coast of Africa." Having been the former third president of the United States of America and being succeeded by the current president at that time, James Madison Jr., Thomas Jefferson's statements on the proposition was well received by nearly all colonizationalists in North America. In fact, his statements influenced more politicians and religious organizations to form meetings to strengthen the cause for removing the indigenous copper-colored aboriginals of Turtle Island, or as they love to call our ancestors, the Negroes.